So, hi guys. So, as you can see from title, we're going to talk about a subject that is kind of spread through our JKD community, and that is Jeet Kune everything but works? So, well, the problem I have with this sentence is if JKD is everything what works, that would actually mean that, for example, somebody doesn't do any martial arts. He goes on the street, gets attacked by somebody, and he swings a punch, never trained any martial art, hits the guy, guy goes knocked down, and that was Jeet Kune. So if you use this definition that as Jeet Kune is everything what works, then this would be also Jeet Kune. When you think about this, it's kind of problematic because you have to train something, you have to have kind of principles in martial art, and when you say Jeet Kune is everything what works, or everything what you like, some would say also, then you could technically teach anything, literally anything, or go in or take a JKD title and put it above any school, whether it's karate, whether it's let's say Wing Chun, or it's a Muay Thai school, or it's some different school. You could just take a JKD and put it above the door, and when you use definition everything what works is Jeet Kune, then you could actually do this, and which is of course nonsense. You can't do that. You can't say everything what works is Jeet Kune, because this gives you a free ticket to teach anything and call it Jeet Kune, and this is not how Bruce worked, how he trained, and how he approached and he developed his martial art. This is very important to say. So when we talk about JKD, about Bruce Lee's JKD, we have to understand that for what he developed this martial art, and that it was a street fighting system, or it is a street fighting system, and therefore you have to have a certain structure and certain techniques that are in a lot of ways different from other martial arts. For example, like when you stand and you have to protect your groin, and you have to align yourself so you can easily get attacked, especially in this area, and you have to set different rules for street fighting than for other martial arts there that are not actually street fighting, or would be used in this kind of environment. So when you look at things that he developed over the years, and how his stance was, and how his footwork was, and what was the main strategy and tactics, and what were the main targets and everything else. So when you look at this front view and side view of the stance from JKD, from the area 1967, later on it was a bit changed. It went a bit more compact, so you can see here how the front leg covers the groin, the knee. It's not that much open and everything, and this is the main weapon. So you can see here the knee covering the groin, and this is the main attacking weapon, and the strong side forward, and this is the covering hand. The left hand is the covering hand, And when you go to the next picture, so you can see here incorrect stances like too wide open or too crossed and stuff like this. So there are certain principles and certain structure things in the structure that make JKD unique compared to other martial arts. So it's not like you go and say I'm going to train Muay Thai, and then I'm going to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then I'm going to do some bit boxing, and then bit maybe Wing Chun, and then I just put it all together, and in different situations I use a different techniques from these martial arts, and then this is Jeet Kune. No, this is not how this works. Yeah, well, also main target. You can also see main targets in JKD are different than in usual martial arts. So you can see a main target, see eyes and groin. These are two main targets. In the upper area is the eyes, and in the middle area is the groin, and in the lower area it's actually the knee. So here you have the knee as a main target or primary target, but it's more like a shin area, but it's actually the kneecap. But if you stand closer, you can kick also to the shin. Depends on what shoe you have. You can go with the toes or with a side kick, and you can also attack here the ankle. Here you can see on this side ankle, shin, and the knee as a primary target as well. So these things are defined, and are you not set rules, but are the most logical targets then you can use for fighting where there are no rules, because in a serious situation outside, you don't want to last the fight longer than it needs to be. So primary targets are usually those targets they have the biggest chance to end the fight as fast as possible. That's the idea behind this, and that's why JKD is not just a mixture of different martial arts, and or just something that you like to train, or something that just works, because anything can work in a certain situation, but if you have to train something, so you have to have kind of training program, and to train your techniques and how you attack these main targets, and because this is the core of the martial art. So then you have 3 main principles in JKD. So the 3 core principles of JKD are these. So you have directness, you have simplicity, and then you have economy of motion. And well, it's not pretty hard to explain what this means. So the directness is, of course, to go as direct as possible, to attack the target as direct as possible. So you have 3 main targets. So these are the eyes, the groin, and then the knee area, and you would attack them usually as direct as possible. So as long as you have the correct distance to attack the knee, you would attack it direct and simple as possible. Okay, so and then when you're a bit closer in, you can go to the groin. Depends on the angle and depends on the distance you're standing to your opponent. And then when you are even closer, maybe you can go to the eyes, and these are the main targets. Like I said, you would attack them. That's your first choice of attack. So there are of course secondary targets, but like when you can go to the eyes, you just go to the eyes, or groin or knee, if it's possible. But usually at any given time, one of these three targets are reachable pretty direct or are open, because you can protect them all three at the same time. The only way you can protect them all three at the same time is through maintaining distance and using footwork, but you can't cover your eyes and cover your groin and cover your knee. Even in JKD stance, the knee is always exposed. The only way to protect it is through mobility. So well, this is the main principles that you have to maintain or follow in JKD. So, and everything builds around this, and the techniques that Bruce developed for attacking, for kicking and punching, and eye jabbing are within these three principles. So when you move direct and when you move or attack simple as possible, you have actually economy of motion. So these three principles are bound together. So there's no economy of motion if there's no simplicity or there's no directness. So you need to have them like both to achieve this goal. So this is everything what's going on in JKD. Okay, so the whole martial art is built on this foundation, and then when you look at what Jeet Kune actually means, the way of intercepting fist or foot. Okay, it doesn't matter really. It's just a way of intercepting. You can now like imagine what's the highest goal. So the highest goal is to intercept the opponent the moment at the moment he is moving. He's trying to start his attack, and you intercept this starting point of his attack or his motion. So this is the highest goal, and then you can achieve this when you are direct and when you do it as simple as possible. Okay, so if you're not going direct and if you're going using a complicated technique, that's probably not going to work. And so the tactic within itself, to intercept somebody, you need at least directness and simplicity to achieve this, or to raise your chance of success in this kind of attack. So then you have to look at how Bruce did develop the techniques so they could work in this kind of let's say environment. Okay, because it's when you just go and mix different martial arts, so you just take techniques from different martial arts and put them together and use them like it's common in this martial arts, then you're not actually following the principles of JKD. So if you want to follow the principles of JKD, you have to have techniques that work, that can achieve this or can follow these three principles. Typical example would be the finger jab. Okay, it's very efficient, it's very direct, and it's simple. It's pretty simple technique, simple in its use, and also a groin forward, straight forward kick, side kick to the knee. It's very direct kick. It's simple in the use, but simple doesn't mean difficult. These things are pretty difficult to learn because you also have to learn not to telegraph your movements, and when you're using these techniques, you have to be able to use them like from 0 to 60, or for European guys 0 to 100, just like this, and no telegraphing. So what Bruce actually was a kind of expert in. Okay, and yeah, well, then you have the idea that you have you can train many martial arts, and just call it JKD, and then you have the problem when you're accumulating many techniques that you're not becoming very proficient in these. And why is that? Well, it's pretty simple, because it becomes a problem because you need a certain amount of time to get good at something. So if you train a lot of techniques, and you can only train so much time for each one of them, and then it becomes really the problem. It becomes the problem to be able to really use them when you need to use them. So usually when you fight, or when kind of fighting situation comes up, you have no time to think. You have to just react automatically. So you have to have done many repetitions of certain things to be able to use them efficiently and fast and without thinking. So there is a scientific research where it shows that, well, you can see it here, you need about 10,000 hours practice to master a skill in kind of world-class level, if you want to say. Okay, so this 10,000 hours rule, you can understand when you like using a whatever, playing football maybe, or like arrow and bow, and you have to practice this amount of hours to master the skill. So, and in JKD we're not talking about hours, we're talking about repetitions. So you take a technique and you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it, you repeat it dry, then you repeat it, you break it down, and then you repeat it in application, and then you repeat it in a free train, as like free fighting scenarios. And when you reach a certain amount of repetition, you can do it automatically without telegraphing, and very fast, and with no effort. So, and that's only one technique. So if you take, for example, straight lead, or you take straight left, or you take a side kick or front kick, some techniques you can learn faster than the others, because naturally not every technique is mechanically same, or has the same level of difficulty to learn. But usually you have to put a lot of time in one technique to learn it, and to really be able to apply it. And so when you understand this, and Bruce understood this, when you can look up his diary, how much he trained a day, and then you can see how he punched 2,000 times a day and kicked 1,000 times a day, sometimes even more or less, and to achieve this level of professional level of using these techniques and footwork and everything. So when you are accumulating techniques, like hundreds different techniques, you can never do this. You can never get proficient in that what you do. You can just achieve certain level, and you just simply have no time. I mean, the body has, when you train, you need to recover and everything. You can train 24 hours a day. Maybe when you take some stuff, you can train more, but usually you can train. There's a limit of time of training you can actually do a day. So when you once you understand this, then you know if you take the techniques that work the best in most situations, that are they can be used as direct, and it can be used simple, and they're economical in their motion. So then you use and train these techniques, and then you can achieve a pretty high level of a professional level, or like, I don't like to say master it, because you never really master something, but let's say, for sake of argument, so you can master these techniques and get really good at them, and you can outperform any other guy who maybe does 200 different techniques but hasn't mastered nothing from this, and you just get in with this one thing anytime you want, because you master it. So this is the idea, and this is a kind of scientific approach of training things, because like Bruce also said, he doesn't fear a guy who kicked 10,000 kicks once, or 10,000 different kicks once. He fears a guy who kicked one kick 10,000 times. This is exactly the idea, and he understood how human brain works to achieve anything. And very good example of this is playing an instrument. You can see in my background there are a few guitars. I used to play guitar in a band years ago. So if you want, it's simple. If you want to get good at this, you have just to put a really big amount of time in this. So martial arts is no different, and then you can tweak in the martial art. Okay, so if you want to make it better, if you want to make yourself better, you have to train only the techniques that are realistic, that work the best, and learn really to use them really good. I can remember even I read in a karate article years ago where they were talking about karate punch, Kizamitsuki, the karate lead punch, and they were talking about how some karate guys have mastered this punch and are training this punch the most, and how they always win with this punch. And they used there was an example of a judo guy who trained, I think, only one hip throw, and he won all his fights in tournaments with this one technique, because he mastered this technique, and he could get anybody with this technique when he wanted. So these are pretty extreme examples, but this is kind you can understand how human brain works. So the more you do, the less you can really master, and the less you do, the more you can master these things. So and when we go back to the title of this video, so is JKD anything that works? Technically yes, but within these principles, it has to be direct, it has to be simple, and therefore it has to be efficient and economical in its motion. So also, not to forget to mention, if you are teaching in a school, you have a martial arts school, and you have students, and you go there and you tell them, okay guys, you have to do this and this, and you have to repeat it like thousands of times, 50,000 times, 100,000 times, 500,000 of times, 1 million times, 2 million times. Use a footwork for this and everything. Or you go and you introduce in every next class you introduce a new technique, and then you introduce another new technique, and then another new technique. So the second example of introducing all these different techniques every time is how you keep students interested. Okay, so this is actually how you make money, but the first one is how you make people good. So this is the difference, and that's why you have like, not everybody is Bruce Lee, and that's exactly the reason why not everybody Bruce Lee is, because the most people, they want to collect techniques, and they think if they collect, the more techniques they collect, the better they are going to be. But it's actually the opposite. So if you have very good few punches and very good few kicks, and then very good footwork on this, or you can probably outpunch and outkick any guy who is collecting thousands of techniques. Even professional guys, when you see a professional guys there who are fighting in a tournament, they usually win. When they win, always similar, using some kind of things they are specialized on. Okay, so and then in this area they win, and in different area they would lose because they're not so specialized on. But this is not same like JKD, because I mean, you in tournaments you have a certain set of rules where you can't use everything. You can't use certain things, or certain tactics are have because of the rules advantage over the other tactics. So, but the principle is the same. You can win with things that you have trained the most. So, and when you then take JKD and the environment in what JKD is applied in or for, then you know what things you should train the most, and so you become efficient and effective and very, very strong at doing these things. So I don't know if I could explain this. I could explain it well in English. I'm struggling a bit to think in English and to say it in English, but yeah, I hope this was not too hard to listen to. Okay, so see you next time, guys, and stay healthy in these hard times that we have right now, and keep practicing.